Hey guys, welcome to the TOWTalk podcast. It's Tuesday. It's our live stream. Tuesday, August 4th. Summer's half over. The kids are going back to school. What's going on, Neil?
Hey, welcome everybody to all of our Tuesday live listeners. We're coming at you live today. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to us. Hit that little bell so you know when we're on. And we're here live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. So welcome and to join us. And please, if you're in the chat, please feel free to ask a question, identify yourself so we know who's there, and join in our conversation. We love when the public gets to interact with us because it engages us for maybe different types of conversations that we might not have. And we love talking about how things that are on a national level affect us here locally. And so
Yes.
that's sort of our mindset. Is we want everybody to understand that just because something happens on the federal level doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't affect you locally. And so we're here to try to help bridge that for you and kind of give you an idea of what that actually means. So Denise, how you doing this evening? What do you got for us? What's in the news?
Oh, God. What isn't in the news? It's like everything. Everything's in the news. But I think today isn't it the primary in Michigan with El Sayed? I'm
Today is
trying to.
primary day in the state of Michigan. Um, so there are two candidates for the Democratic primary. I think we've been talking about one of them at least, El Sayed, and then the other one was Haley Stevens,
Haley
who
Stevens, yes.
was also running out in Michigan. So we'll find out tonight. Probably we will not be off the air by the time we hear, but if we do, we will certainly announce that. I think the polls close out there around 9 p.m. So we'll be off the air by the time that
Oh,
everybody
right. Yeah. But I think they might be able to call it. Now, the last time I looked at the
can't
polls,
call
which
it
was
before
like,
the polls closed. Cannot
you know,
call an election before the polls closed. That is illegal. That is
I know.
considered election
I know. We can,
cheating.
we, we could say it's looking good. Hello, Tau SW. What's going on? Yep, and say hello to Tau Talk. Look, Tau Talk podcast made a post before we even got here. That's amazing. Oh my God. So I went all nuts and blasted us. I made a new TikTok to get that apparently gave Neil practically a seizure. So if you all following the Tau Talk podcast on TikTok, check that out. So
I also want to mention that tonight, I think a lot of people will probably be there, probably not watching us tonight, but they'll catch us on the our save show. Tonight is National Night Out, so everybody across the country is celebrating our police tonight, our local police officers, and National Night Out as a way of celebrating them and keeping our community safe. So tonight is the National Night Out Against Crime. And the town of Waukegan obviously is a huge participator in this. Been doing it many years, led by Chief Hertman and his assistant over there. So and they do a fantastic job. So I can't say enough good things about them tonight. And I hope the event is going well and everybody is staying hydrated.
yes, yeah, right. Thankfully, it's not as hot as it has been. It seems to be already cooling off a bit, so that's a good thing.
Oh,
Michigan's,
Michigan polls at 8 p.m. Ooh, so maybe by
but
the end of the show.
I think Michigan though isn't that Central Time?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
It might be. So it
Right. So they're
technically
about,
would be 9 p.m. here. We
that's
might
what
be
I'm
able to
saying.
get.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So we could be able to notify you of that. Kind of really excited about that. Just because, he's talking about the issues that matter most to us. He's talking about
Right.
issues, period. Unfortunately, his challenger, I don't know, she was talking about seeing Israel in her dreams, which is weird. It's just weird to
I
me.
you know, I understand that there's a level of national politics, right, that comes in when you're running for a federal position, okay? But what is occurring in this country right now is on another level that I've never seen before. I mean, the discussions when we used to send, when we sent our old like when Ben Gilman was around, right?
Oh,
Like
I remember
it was
him.
right. It was like we were looking at like what would be best for our community. We were looking at roads and infrastructure and bridges,
Education and,
education, and it was all about like what could happen. And then we had Nan Hayworth for a number of years, and all she cared, she basically said she came out and said this, and you can look this up. She said the only thing the federal government should be doing involved in is national defense. So she wanted to take all our federal tax dollars and basically just put it toward the military, and she didn't give a shit about giving anything back to the states. Okay, she
isn't that
actually
ki
said that.
isn't that what they're doing now?
Right, but this is sort of the conversation right now. Okay, is you have both establishment Democrats and Republicans coming out and basically saying that we don't matter. We as the public don't matter, right?
Wait a second, got an update here.
What's
So
that?
Eric
Michigan update.
Vasquez,
Is that polling? That's just polling data. That's
that
just
or
where the polling data was yesterday. That isn't the exit polls. That's not any.
or it's not the count so far?
No, that I can tell you right now is the that was the polling data that was released yesterday.
And Hayworth.
That's not the I want to be clear. I'm not announcing anything because I know the way the law works, and you can't
No, we
disclose anything.
can't announce it, but we could say how they're doing. That's not
Usually,
announcing.
usually what happens is right around the time the polls close, what you'll do is then you'll get exit information from the media, and they'll start producing the exit polls, and then the counts will start coming in, and then there are certain districts, because of the number of people that vote, where they could tell if you won that district, that you won the election. It's like really weird, like
Right.
it odd, because they're, I mean, this is what pollsters do, right? Like this is the information they spend like years just analyzing this information. You
Yeah.
know, I think Nate Silver at one point in time, Nate Silver, who if people don't know, he was a gambler, he was a massive statistician, and he started looking at polling data, and he was like, "Oh, this shit's easy," and he was able to narrow down an election to like 5 districts. And he said, where these 5 districts go, like districts, like not states, like districts within a state, he was like, wherever these 5 districts go is where the election, and it turned out to be right. And then, we got bought and paid for, and that was the end of that. But, because, because some people believe like polling data is how they vote, right? Like polling data can influence how people vote, and that
True.
may not be that's not necessarily a good thing, because that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. you
That's
know
true. That's true. But people want to know. People want to get an idea. We all want to say, "Hey, who's looking good? Who's saying what?" I mean, it, we all do that. Let's see what we've got. Tao says, as of now, Michigan is going rep and
Republican
watch
and
Republican.
Washington is going Democrat.
Uh,
Interesting.
so you think that if El Sayed wins the Democratic primary, he might he's going to have a tough time Who's the Republican in that?
Mike Rogers.
Mike Rogers. That's right, Mike Rogers.
Right. He apparently lost in a primary to, I believe, I can't remember the name of the individual, the current congresswoman who's out there. He lost in a primary to her the last time, by a very small margin. And the prediction is that that it's going to be a very tough race. It'll be a very tough race. But here's what I am going to tell everybody, right? They're all tough races, but all they look at is registered Democrats and Republicans, and they look at voting data, right? So what they're looking at is normal voters, a normal voter trend, okay, in a and then based on registered voters. Okay, but as I've been telling everybody, there are more and more unaffiliated voters in those districts, and those unaffiliated voters usually are much more socially liberal people, right, and fiscal conservatives. So yes, the tendency is that in the past they have voted for Republicans, but that doesn't necessarily hold true in the future. Okay,
Right.
it also doesn't mean that they voted in the past either. Okay, so you have like Memdani won in New York City because he brought out like a million people, right? Like there were like an ungodly number of new voters who outvoted the normal establishment voters. So we don't know. Again, when you put a candidate like El Sayed in who
Mm.
wins, right? Keep in mind, Barack Obama shouldn't have won by as much as he did the first time he ran. There were a lot of new voters who came out and voted that year. That was the highest voting year on record. Okay. So we need to, I need everybody to keep that in mind, that normal patterns and what you're hearing from the TV and from pollsters doesn't necessarily matter, because I'm going to bet any amount of money that in this Michigan primary, you're going to see a lot of new voters, a
Yes.
lot of
And
new Democratic voters, and then you have all the people
the
who couldn't
independents.
vote, right, who couldn't vote for El Sayed because it was a primary, who then get to vote for him in a general election.
Yeah, that's where the difference is. Yeah, you're gonna see that's where you see the difference because you can't really track the independents, although Trump has been shedding them like a coat, like it's like shedding like a shepherd right now, all of his support. And at this point, he's about to lose the boomers because now they're messaging more and more that they're going to be cutting Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security.
Well, Medicaid D. So, there's been a lot of reporting about Medicaid D. Medicaid D, which is the prescription drug plan. Basically, what they're doing is they're trying to shift over to, right, obviously Trump's prescription drug plan. So they want people to move toward that. And that what is that? That's non-generic drugs that are being discounted. Okay, so a generic drug still costs you less. Okay, let's keep that in mind. But they want to move over there, and basically all it means is you still have your Medicare D, but it's not going to be subsidized. So there might be higher copays, there might be higher amounts. It's obviously going to mean more money out of the pockets of seniors, which is going to be very unfortunate.
Right. Well, that's also they're eliminating the subsidies for the premiums. The
That's what I
premiums are
just said.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my husband has a drug plan, and it went up substantially from last year to this year because they cut the amount of the subsidies, and now they're getting rid of the rest of it.
Yep.
So at this point, when you think of what the monthly cost is, and when you factor in the cost of food and you factor how rent is increased and how everything else, like energy is increasing, gas is increasing, Do you want to spend another 10, 20, or $30 a month? When, for example, here in where we live, we have a Sam's Club warehouse. They have a pharmacy in there, and they offer these low rates. They offer, if you are a member or if you're a plus member, you get a bigger break off the cost of medications that might cost you the same as what it would cost under a plan or maybe less. And there's other places that are doing that. I think Mark Cuban has what is it, Health Plus or something? He's got something like that. So you can also check
That's
those
all
prices.
generic drugs. That's generic drugs.
It's all
Right.
generic.
He uses all generic. Right. I mean, that's the competition, right? It's Mark Cuban discounting generic drugs, and then you have the Trump healthcare plan, which is discounting your name brand drugs. So it's still cheaper to go with the Mark Cuban side unless you want to pay the premium because you can't take the generic drug.
Right.
Which some people, the generic doesn't work for them, and you need the name drug. It happens.
Or there isn't a generic option. And you have to take the name brand and have to deal with the price. Like we don't well, you can get, like, if you're on GLP-1, there's not technically generic, but you can go into the compounding, option. That's only because it's hard to get a lot of GLP-1s. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's what's happening. But I just gotta wonder how much does Trump make off the top in his drug plan?
Listen,
Everything is a buck for this guy.
everything is a scam. Everything, you know, it literally is just funneling money out of our pockets into their pockets with their subscriptions, the nickel and diming of everything, the taxes. They want to increase sales. They want to start a national sales tax. Like everything is just they
We
are
already
just
have a
want
national sales tax.
they just
Tariffs.
want they just want to drain our bank accounts and enrich themselves, right? Like what's the messaging now? The messaging now is well, you may have to cut back at the store. You may not be able to eat, top sirloin, maybe you should go with a slice of liver, right? Like this is the messaging, right? But the other side of that messaging is they're not like turning around to Jeff Bezos and the other like billionaires out there, and they're not saying, maybe the third yacht you don't need. Maybe you should pay your employees a little more, or maybe what we'll do is we'll raise the minimum wage so that way everybody can get a little bit more money, okay, in this economy, and maybe the billionaires are going to have to take a little less. You
Yeah.
know, I
Oh,
mean,
no.
you know,
The billionaires, the almighty billionaires.
yes, they
Yeah.
have I mean, they're draining our bank accounts in order to enrich themselves, and they just don't give a shit. Like I saw a meme today, right?
Yeah, I was gonna
That
ask
talked
you about that,
about
to talk about that.
right. I saw a meme today where they were saying how a kid wearing like $175 shoes and $1,000 phone is complaining about how the system isn't working for them. Okay. And here's all I'm gonna say. You know what the difference is between a kid with $175 shoes and $1,000 phone and a billionaire is? It's a
Yeah.
it's a
Bill
billion
bill
fucking dollars. It's a
billions
billion
of
dollars.
it's
Right.
billions
It's a
of
billion.
dollars.
Right. It's still $1 billion, right? Like it the how they try to equate things and how like they try to get us to look at things, okay,
Yeah.
is absolutely amazing to me. And I'm reading a book now called Being Wrong, okay, and it's the idea that just because you see a meme and just because somebody says something, okay, doesn't mean it's accurate. It doesn't mean it's true what the meaning behind it is. Okay. They're trying to get you to jump to a meaning that doesn't exist. you need to start relooking at your life,
Right.
right? And looking at the country differently, because things are now changed. It's not the country you grew up in, okay? And I have this conversation all the time, okay? We are not living 50 years ago. We're not living 20 years ago. We're not living 70 years ago. I don't know. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what generation you grew up in, right? I grew up a latchkey kid. Kids today are not latchkey kids, okay? Man testified in front of Congress saying that our kids are dumber today than they were in our generation because everything in the classroom is electronic, okay?
Yeah.
You know,
They're the new babysitter.
we used to have to read books, and then we used to have to be able to summarize those books in book reports, okay? Today the kids skim the book, okay? They barely read it, okay? Or have it read to them by audiobook, okay? And then it's summarized by some like
AI.
AI, right?
AI
You
does
know,
everything for you.
and then all they're asked to do is write a book report from the AI summary. And a lot of them can't even do that. Okay. It's gotten so bad. Okay. Lawyers are now getting cited. Okay. And this is happening here in New York too. Locally, not just like nationally. Okay. This is happening locally, right? Where lawyers and paralegals are signing off on briefs that are going to the court with fake citations in them. Okay. Because AI did the brief for them. I mean, this is how stupid we've gotten as a country.
Even our the regime has relied entirely on AI. So where was it? They were at some international event and they put up a map of Africa with all the named countries, and all the countries were misnamed. Not one was correct because they had it done by AI.
But like seriously,
It's stupid.
Listen.
It's embarrassing.
There are maps. If you go to it, like literally, if you go to Washington D.C., like there are maps in like every fucking building, like world maps in every building. Like everywhere you go, there's a freaking world map somewhere. Okay, right? It's not freaking hard to find, you know. And these guys could figure out, right, African countries on a map, right? I mean, this is where we are, okay, and you know, and I'm really with Norway at this point in time. Like, no more electronics in the schools, right? Like, get rid of the Chromebooks. I know I'm gonna get heat for that. Get rid of the Chromebooks. Go back to old school learning. Go back to them learning how to read, how to understand what they're reading, right? Understand
how to write.
okay? Understand math, okay? There'll be plenty of time for the shortcuts later, but if you don't know the basics of how to research and what to look up, and you're relying on AI to give you an answer, it's going to be wrong.
People don't realize. Yeah, speaking of AI, apparently Claude, because I know one of our guests here, one of our watchers here, people who are watching right now, Claude broke out of several models and like hacked other companies recently. Like they were just running tests. Like this is what AI is running rogue. You think it wants to give you honest information while it's hacking other companies? Come on.
Yeah, but like you have to understand like what those models are doing, right? Like as bad as that sounds, right? The right, like I think I mentioned this the other day. Okay, I think we talked about this the other day. Like how stupid it was, right? Like they programmed it to break out, okay, of a box that wasn't supposed to be connected to the internet. It broke out of the box, but didn't recognize that it broke out of the box. Okay, so it broke, and what it did was it broke into other boxes essentially to see if it could learn how to break out of the box that it already had broken out of. Right? Like how stupid was it? Okay,
Oh my
and then
god.
and then they had to use Chinese software, okay, to catch it, because US software, the AI like programs here that are meant to detect it, right, won't detect American made software.
Oh
It
God.
overlooks the American made software. So they have to use Chinese AI to catch the American AI. Okay? Like it's like the dumbest shit that's going on right now. And there are absolutely nobody has guardrails. Nobody has their guardrails because like
They were all
the
taken
federal government,
down.
right, the federal government is just too dumb. I mean, you have like 80-year-old men, okay, you're like, and you're begging them like, hey, we need controls on AI, right? And they're like handing you their phone, like can you show me how to open my phone, young man? I can't open this thing, right? Like, I mean, these guys don't even know technology, and you're asking them to make laws related to AI. So what do? They turn to the manufacturers of AI, right? They turn to Anthropic, and they turn to Peter Thiel, and they turn to Elon Musk, and they go, what laws should we put in place to regulate
No
what you guys are
laws.
doing? And
No
you're turning
laws.
around going, dude, we're great. We got this. You don't need to do a thing. Just listen. You know what? Stick to your abacus. You'll be fine.
Oh God. There have been studies on AI, and there's like a 20% chance if we let AI reach the level of general intelligence that yeah, it could like to kill all of like humanity, like all life on this planet. There's like a 20% chance, 1 in 5 chance that AI could go rogue on us and like Skynet could come after us all. Like that's it. And I saw an interview. It was done a while ago. I think they were talking to the wacko. The wacko always looks like is a carp. I think it's carp. Jumps up and down on chairs. He's got wild hair and glasses, and he was like, even Musk too. The same thing. They were both like, oh, it's worth it. It's worth the risk. Like a 1 in 5 chance. Yes, Mitch is. Yes, Eric is bringing up Mitch McConnell, which I knew we had to go in here. I talk about Mitch.
I'm gonna give you Andy Bashir, who is the governor of Kentucky. I'm gonna give you his response, and his response, I think, is spot
is
on.
the best one.
Okay?
Yep.
A Democrat has not won a Senate seat in Kentucky since 1992. 1992, people. Okay, that seat will now be vacant till December 31st. Okay.
That's okay.
Right. If not, I think maybe sometime in January. Who knows? Whenever they get sworn in. Okay. Right. So that means one less vote for Republicans, right, throughout the rest of the year. Okay. So everybody who was pushing Andy Bashir, the governor of Kentucky, to schedule a special election or appoint somebody, first of all, he had no authority to appoint anybody because of the fact that they changed the law, and now the legislature gets to choose, right, when the seat is vacant. All right. And second of all, right, he would have to it would be a special election, okay? And he would rather not have a special election because that fills the seat sooner. So he would just rather leave the seat vacant because the Democrat ain't winning that seat.
Yeah, that's true.
No matter what.
No matter
There's
what.
no Democrat getting into that seat.
Well, they should run anyway. You never know. Interesting though, there has been work getting done via auto pen of all things. His staff auto penning things. I know they can't auto pen a vote, but other types of things are being done. And they're still getting paid. I think he's not coming back to this seat. We know that.
No. Listen, as I said,
He's
and the
it
seat
is one
vacant
less
until the end of the year.
But my point is that the staff is concealing it, so they're absolutely engaged in this cover up. He's most likely brain dead. I'm 99%. I 99% believe that. Like tiny 1%. He's on a ventilator. He's not coming back. And like I don't think that's right. I mean, what's your feeling?
Here's the thing. Okay, and let me just make this perfectly clear to everybody out there. Right? This is not gamesmanship. This is not political. This has nothing to do with any of those things. It's actually the most pathetic reason that you could possibly imagine. Okay? The man is fucking dead. Okay? Right? But he doesn't want to relinquish power. Right? Okay? And what I mean by that is his staff, his wife, right? His family all benefit from him being in that seat. Okay?
Yes.
Whether he's alive or dead, whether he does anything or doesn't do anything, they all get special privileges. Okay?
And money.
Right? And money. So, like, it really is a pathetic reason in the respect that these people who are in these seats, okay, these people who are in these seats, right, don't believe that those are our seats. They don't believe in the people. Okay, this has been made perfectly clear by both the Republican Party and the establishment Democratic Party. Okay, both parties have made it perfectly clear they don't give a shit about what any of us have to say at all.
Oh, I know.
Okay, just not one bit. They don't want us to vote. Okay, hence the SAVE Act, right? Like they don't want us to vote. They don't want like they want to remain in power and continue things as they are. They want to continue to be in power. They can want to continue benefiting from that power. They do not believe that those are the people's seats, right? Or that they represent us. They believe that they actually own them. And as we saw with Lindsey Graham, okay, they believe that they can bequeath them, okay, to the person of their choosing, in particular, family members. Okay, enough's enough. These are the people's seat.
Yeah.
And they don't belong to anybody. So therefore,
they belong to us.
Go run for something, right? There actually is a group called Run for Something.
Right for something. Yeah.
And what do they do? They back people who want to run for public office, and not people who are rich and established, but they want to, they want to endorse candidates who have progressive ideas and want to represent people and
That's
freedom.
all.
And
freedom.
making sure that we have the ability to go to school, to be educated, to have health care, to have affordable housing, to have a livable wage. I mean, if you're telling me that these are radical ideas, all right, then my entire education system and my entire life, I've been taught the wrong thing. Then FDR was a fucking communist. Okay.
Right.
FDR was a communist, and the New Deal was a complete communist takeover of the United States. And we've been living under communism now for the last 100 years.
90 years.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right. Because otherwise, I don't know what people are talking about. I really just don't. I find it radical that you would be putting police in masks and sending them into our local neighborhoods, right? To round up our neighbors. Okay?
Yes.
I would, if somebody told me that, I would say that's pretty radical. If you told me that American citizens were then getting rounded up in these things, right? I would say you were even more radical if you said you wanted that, right? It would be radical if you told me you didn't want Head Start anymore, that you didn't want the government funding Head Start anymore, right? I would say that was radical, right? I would find it radical if you told me you wanted to eliminate Social Security and Medicare. I would find that radical.
Yeah.
I mean, the list continues to go on of the things that I would find radical that I'm hearing the Democratic Party and the entire Republican Party, right, saying that they want those things. Okay. And the people saying, no, 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 we want to protect those things, right? They're
And
calling
they're not
them the
listening.
and they're
Yeah, and
calling
they're
them
not,
radicals.
and they're calling us the radicals for wanting
Right.
a universal health care program. Well, that, I got into a little tete-a-tete with someone on a TikTok. People post things. I always respond. I always type back.
Ooh.
And someone was
They
like,
can never win a Facebook argument.
yeah. Yeah, well, it was, I made a short where, from our recording from last week where we talked about universal healthcare, and they were like, "Oh, universal healthcare would be 10,000 times worse. You'd never get to see your own doctor. You never get to choose a doctor." I'm like, "Wouldn't all the doctors be under the plan?" I think you'd have more choices. I mean, what's happening now with your insurance company, especially if you're on an HMO? You only get a select group of doctors, and in non-HMO policies, you have in-network doctors and you have out-of-network doctors. So if you stay in network, you get the negotiated rates, but if you go outside of network, they'll only pay the negotiated rate, you pay all the rest. So you end up limiting your choices and choosing a doctor within network, right? And then the next argument is well, there's going to be long wait times. Dude, do you have eyeballs? I seriously, you fucking eyeballs. We're waiting right now. As more and more, especially since the cut started with Medicaid and Medicare, you're already seeing facilities cutting staff and cutting procedures and cutting things that they can do for you. And so the wait times have already increased, and we haven't even hit the worst of it that starts in 2027. They did that on purpose, just in case they lost power at the midterms. No, we're not forgetting. We know you guys did this.
So here's what I'm going to tell everybody, right? Which I find is really ironic, okay, in our system. Okay. So I think I mentioned I had back surgery a few months ago. Okay. All right. And so, you know, I'm one of those people, I talk to my doctor all the time. Okay. And he was telling me that the system that we
Oh,
currently live in now, okay, all right, they will for the type of surgery I had, which I had spinal stenosis in my neck, okay, which is the tightening of the spinal canal, okay,
okay.
right? So there normally in a lot of these type of surgeries, what they'll do is they do disc replacement surgery, right? Which is what they did with my mom, and I've talked to a lot of people, and this is what they recommend. Okay. And I was talking to my doctor and he laughed. He said in the United States that's what they pay for because the company that makes, right,
The replacement disc.
the replacement discs, right, makes a fortune of money. It's about money.
Always
Okay?
about money. Isn't that a
Right?
thing?
My doctor
Capitalism.
is telling me and he's from China, right? Like he's telling me they he's like, "Oh, they do this procedure everywhere else in the world but the United States." Right? And basically what they do is they don't use like anything else. It's literally they go in, they take some pieces, they widen the spinal canal, okay, and they, and then they maybe chisel some stuff down and they open up the spinal canal. Very much less invasive, okay, than having the disc replacement surgery. Yet in this country, because what your insurance company pays for dictates, right, how you get treated,
Yes.
okay, not the doctor, okay. And when I asked him about that, he goes, because they don't pay me to do the surgery I did,
Yes.
okay. He likes to do the surgery. that's what he does, right? I mean, I
Right.
love the guy. I think the guy is great. All right. I mean, it's great to be passionate about something and want to do it, but he should get paid. Okay. And the fact that in this country, insurance companies don't pay, and listen, I saw the bills, right? Like I got my health insurance, so I've seen how much they paid. I couldn't believe it, right? My doctor's right. He doesn't get paid to do my surgery. Okay. So we need to stop with this idea that we live in this country where you can get any surgery anytime, and the doctor is what dictates what
Your
procedures
healthcare.
you have and how you're treated and your health care. No. Insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies dictate your treatment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. Not
It
your
used
doctor. Your
and
your doctor's your intermediary.
yeah, seriously. You have to go to your insurance company, and it used to be you'd have some LPN, partially educated nurse person open up a CPT code book and say, this CPT code only allows for this procedure, this much time to do it, and this much time for recovery, because it's the same for every patient across the board, which is ridiculous. Now they're getting rid of her. They're going to have AI make that decision. And we just had a conversation about how fucked up AI can be. So think about that. Think about AI guiding your doctor's care. And they have to rely with AI. Or I didn't mean for that to rhyme.
But that's the thing. Now you have doctors, right? Like they have to get approval from AI, right? From these computers, right? Before they can perform a procedure. And so what I found out, right, is that a lot of patients who are experiencing similar pain to me aren't being treated at all, right? Because the insurance companies won't pay for the treatment. Not that there isn't treatment, okay? But the fact is that doctors will not treat them because of the how much they make on the treatment, right? Compared to the risk, okay? So an
So we're going
example.
for profit. Profit
Well,
for
no,
for your heart
let
surgery.
me give you an example, right? So you want to go get shots, right? Like the what do they call them? Nerve block shots in your back,
Oh yes,
right?
yeah.
You want to go get nerve block shots in your back. Okay? All right, depending on what you need and how you need it, okay? Um a doctor, right? They dictate you can only get how many shots that you get. So if you're one of those people that have had this before, maybe you need 4 shots or 5 shots. The insurance company will only let you have 2. Okay, right? So you may not actually get relief at the end of the day. Okay, because the doctor isn't going to pick up the other 3 shots, right? So this is why the doctor says, "Oh, there's nothing we can do for you," because at the end of the day, they know that the individual can't pay, okay? And they know what it's going to take to treat you, and they know that there's nothing that they can do to treat you given the money that
Yes.
would come out of your pocket, right? So my doctor said, right, like for doing shots in the back, he makes $120
Per injection.
$120 per patient. Per
Per
patient.
patient. Per patient. Okay.
Patient. Now, the shots may take like what 5 or 10 minutes, but you have to go to the outpatient, right? It's an outpatient, so now you're in Garnett and you're doing this. The doctor has to come out of the office, right? So for the doctor to come out of his office, right, for one patient to go to an outpatient procedure place, right, to do a shot in the neck where you're going to have be put under, right, there's an anesthesiologist there,
Yes.
right, there's okay, for him to make $120, is that worth it? Would you do that? It's not worth it. It becomes not
Especially
worth it.
especially if the insurance company is limiting, they're saying we'll only pay for 2 shots, which means you need to take the rest out of your pocket to pay that. If and the doctor says, well, 2 shots really isn't going to be enough to complete your treatment. You're not going to get the result unless you get the full spectrum of injections that you need to treat whatever the ailment is.
Doctors
Right?
aren't going to allow, right? Doctors aren't going to throw their insurance companies under the bus, because the insurance companies are the only way they make money, right? You don't pay your doctor, the insurance company pays your doctor. So you, as a doctor, you're not going to sit there and throw your insurance company under the bus. That's your moneymaker. That's who pays your bills. You know? So you're really stuck in a really bad spot, and you don't ever know if you're getting the treatment that you should be getting, because you're not getting treated by a doctor. You're getting treated by insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies, and usually it's some like person without an MD, and now it could just be AI.
Imagine that. Yeah, pretty soon. Pretty soon, you think of the conversation we just had a little while ago about how children are not getting properly educated because they are so connected to AI. AI is giving them all the answers. Think that could be going on right now in medical school. What kind of doctors are going to come out of that education?
But look what's already happening. Okay, look what, right. Go to the doctor. Okay, please go to the doctor. Look who the doctors are. Okay, the doctors aren't Americans anymore. Okay, right? If you're going to see a doctor, right, that doctor likely is an immigrant from another country at this point in time. All right, because in America we value capital. We don't value labor at all. All right, and I'm going to get into this. Right, we don't value labor at all. So,
Yeah.
what incentive do you have? Right, like an average doctor in the United States, right? Maybe around this area makes about 125 to 150,000 dollars a year, maybe at most $200,000 a year if they get lucky and they have a good practice. Okay, you're coming out of medical school with $1 million in debt. You have to go through your residency. It's like 10 years to become an MD, right? And now your income, you could make more money, right, as a venture capitalist on Wall Street over that 10-year period of time than you can by becoming a doctor. Right? Like, think about that in your head, right? Like, you're smart enough to go to medical school. It's going to take you 10 years and $1 million in debt, right? Before you earn your first dollar, right? Over that 10-year period of time, you could be making, right? You could have made what? Few $1 million? Even if not, maybe 700, $800,000, right? In Wall Street a year. Okay. So
Uh,
so now
it,
all of a sudden, right? Like, where's the incentive to go to medical school? Where's the incentive for Americans to go to medical school? Please tell me. Because
and
that's the struggle right now we're having.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about this. The brain drain. They're all
Right.
leaving. They're all leaving to get educations elsewhere. In fact, I think uh let's see. Tau
Not just
SW talked about that somewhere up there. I saw about Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba is now one of the leading cancer places
Research,
where
here it
people,
is. Our
yeah.
researchers have left the U.S. by the U.S. cut funding. Who suffers? Yeah, us. Yeah, we. Come on. The first week of Doge, one of the first cuts was child cancer research. You might remember they paraded this child who was ill in the I guess it was his annual State of the Union address. In his first State of the Union
Right.
address, right after he was inaugurated, paraded this child out who was cured from cancer. The same week, that week, they got rid of they defunded child cancer research in America. They want to kill us. That's what it is.
No, but it's, see, I think that that's just a Because I say that all the time, and I really think that that's a really poor way to look at it, right? What they've done is right, they've turned capitalism on its head, and they've said that capital, right, matters more than labor. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sorry, we kind
so
of you wanted to get to that,
right.
sorry.
No, no, no. I'm just saying, like, it's this idea that these venture capitalists, right? These private equity people who go in and bankrupt companies and don't actually create anything and don't actually build
It
anything. But what they've done out of that is they've created immense wealth for
for
themselves.
themselves.
Right. They've created immense wealth for themselves, and what has happened is because of the way they dole money out into our political system. Okay, what we're seeing is this idea that now capital is the be all end all. There's no value in labor whatsoever. So doctor, right? Like this was the right when they went and said these are no longer professions. They're because they don't value they've it's labor, it's work, right? They don't value that. There's no value in that. There's no money to be gained. The way they look at it is just give them all the money. They'll create more money for themselves, right? And everybody else will, like again, it's this idea, right? Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, well, that's
Darwin's survival of
oligarchy.
the fittest. Right.
That is oligarchy. And it's
Mhm.
really kind of pathetic. Marty said something interesting here. Let me show this again on the stream. So this is exactly what happened to Russia for the last 75 years. People just left the country and now all they have are incompetent leaders. No innovation, no prospects for a better life. That's what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, they did this in the Philippines. This is what they did in Russia. What I find is interesting is that communist China, right? What happened? So we saw this in communist China actually up until Tiananmen Square and a little
Yes.
bit beyond. And then what did China do? China like said, well, you know, I'm not saying, listen, this isn't me praising China, but China started investing in infrastructure. They started investing in their people
Yeah.
because they realized that was the only way they were going to get innovation. And I don't agree with the testing nonsense that they do. I don't agree with the 10% ownership equity. I don't agree with any of the communist platform.
Right.
I'm a Keynesian guy though. I believe in what FDR put together. You know, Capitalism works as long as you have guardrails. Okay, and those
Yes.
guardrails are the Sherman Antitrust Act, right? Well, we all grew up with that no longer exists. Okay, getting rid of these large corporations that occur. Having a having a higher progressive tax on the wealthy, right? The billionaire class. Figuring out a way to, we have to tax capital gains. Okay,
Yes.
and
Yes.
again,
Without a doubt.
you could right. The whole thing is that they put capital gains. They all put us all in the same boat. So once we started investing our pension money, okay, they all of a sudden were like, oh, we want to get rid of the capital gains tax, right? They wanted to get rid of the capital gains tax because now, but that's how they make their money. All their money,
Oh
they're
yeah.
making millions of, right?
Because
Whereas,
they don't have
on our
income.
right on our tax return, it may be a couple of grand, but for them, they were making millions of dollars, and they put us all in the same boat. So create create caps, create floors, whatever it is. We don't tax any capital gain under $100,000. Anything over $100,000 gets taxed at boom, and then long term capital, and then you can do short term and long term capital gains on that. There are ways to do these things. Okay. But these conversations aren't even what I'm trying to get at is these conversations aren't even being allowed to happen. Okay. Because of this whole communist socialist bullshit. Okay. People like Mamdani, El Sayed, AOC, they're not even allowed to have these conversations because you're going to turn around and call them a communist. Because they
Yes.
want to tax rich people, right, fairly. And maybe if we start doing that, maybe we can get rid of some of these stupid taxes that we have, like the stupid regressive sales tax, right? The cap on payroll taxes, right? Like, the fact that the everybody under $140,000, right, pays more than, and the people over 140 don't pay anything over $148,000. I mean, it's crazy. Like the stupid shit that we can change like that would force billionaires to pay a little bit more, and it wouldn't impact them at all, right? If you tax the billionaire 2% more than you're taxing them now, okay, guess what? They're
Got
still
healthcare.
fucking billionaires. They're still billionaires.
They're still billionaires, right? Right.
They're
It's not
still
gonna. It's not
billionaires,
gonna.
right?
It's not gonna break their bank.
Or
Or
it won't break them at
trillionaires.
all.
Could be.
Right.
They'll still be trillionaires too. Like, right?
Right.
Okay. He's temporarily not a trillionaire, but he'll be a trillionaire again. And it falls back to that question: where did all that wealth come from that they amassed? Us. It's our wealth.
Yeah. Well, the wealth is created out of labor. Okay.
Yeah.
Again,
you should be paid what you're worth.
Everything is a balance, right? So right, labor has to have value because things have to be built, things have to be created, right? You can't sell an air conditioner without somebody building the fucking air conditioner, right? Like, I mean, like I don't get it. Like this idea, like you want to buy and sell real estate. Well, somebody has to build the fucking real estate. You have to build the building.
Got to build the building.
Right. But what we want to do is we essentially want to go back to slave labor. Okay? People working for peanuts, and then you have billionaires sitting there saying, "Okay, now I can profit. I'm the one that took all the risk." Right? That's what they love to tell you. They're the ones that took all the risk. Never mind the guy who like broke his back to put that building together, right? Who only can work because he's a laborer, maybe till he's 50, right? Because he has a broken back and like he needs a million surgeries. He's had no health care. Okay. No, that guy, there's no value to what he provided you. Like he didn't take any risk. Like,
come on.
This is starting to sound ridiculous. The way, again, right? It goes back to the idea of how you learn things is wrong. We need to change how we think about the world around us, our local communities, right? Government, taxes, corporations, billionaires, millionaires, right? Like everybody, we have to start rethinking these things, and we cannot be afraid. We have nothing to fear but fear itself.
That's right. That's right. And let's see. There was something I was going to say, and then I completely lost. You ever do that? Oh my god! The older I get, I forget. No, it was in my head, and then it just fell right out. I mean, geez, the older I get, the more I lose my memory. And see, I need memory treatment, and I can't find a doctor because I don't have decent health care. But I've got some. I've got some. As we're winding down here. One point of lousy news that'll piss you all off before we go. Todd Blanche was advanced to after he wrote a letter that means absolutely nothing, saying that no, we're really not. We're not going to go after the weaponization fund. But it means nothing because the parties didn't sign off on the letter, which basically means it's going to come back up. But yeah, it looks like he's going to be confirmed. So it's very important to get out and vote, that everybody gets out and vote. because we need to be able to challenge and push back from, we need a Congress that will push back. Crossing my fingers that we get there. Um, was trying to get an update on the polls because we're winding down. I wanted to see.
I'm looking at it right now, and currently with 6.3% of the polls reporting, Abdul El Sayed is up 59.6% to Haley Stevens, who has 36.9%.
Wow. Okay, it's a low percentage. It's going to take a while. This is probably going to go on for the next few hours, but holy cow! Yes,
I
yes,
don't
they do,
know
Eric.
because some I think it was
Absolutely.
pointed out on our show that
Slob on that knob.
I think it was reported on our show that some areas of Michigan are in Eastern time zone, and there are only 4 districts that are in Central time zone. So it's
So they're still
possible.
going.
So it's possible we might get more results, in the next few minutes. Hopefully, I'm hoping. I'm refreshing. I'm sitting here clicking refresh.
Refresh it. Let's see. Marty says, I understand that what happened to Trump under the war, you can receive $1,000 and a kick in the ass, and that's it. Any agreement with the DOJ would be non-binding. Yeah, binding. He meant binding. He wrote bonding, but binding. And Eric Vasquez says, El Sayed, the progressive, is topping Stevens. That's what we
Yes,
want.
yes, that's what I'm hearing. Oh, it just changed. Hold on. With 16.1% reporting, Abdul El Sayed is up 52.3% to Haley Stevens, 44.7%.
Okay, so it's
It's getting
it's
closer, but
it's
it's 122,000 votes to 104,000 votes so far.
wow, in Michigan, that's a lot. Usually, there was a time when most people didn't even show up for primaries. This is, the progressives are bringing the voters out during primaries, which when you see those numbers come up, it just kind of gives you an idea of what could happen in the general election. And again, as we pointed out earlier in this stream, that the either unaffiliated or independents can't vote in primaries. And we know from polling, and I know what you said about polling earlier. They've completely dumped Trump at this point. There's very few independents that are in support of Trump. So um, hopefully that's promising, and hopefully it looks good in the general. I know it's going to be tough, but um, we got to pull for El Sayed.
I think you have to look at, each state individually. You have to look at local districts and what people are talking about. Haley Stevens at the end, I really think, her talking, about Israel and Palestine, I really think that it hurt her in the end, but I also think it hurt El Sayed in the end too, right? Because people in Michigan, they want to know when you're hiring somebody for a job, they want to know what you're going to do for them, right? Like if I'm hiring somebody and I'm working for let's say I'm working for Macy's, right? And I know that they're not around, but this would be like hiring somebody for Macy's and asking, so what are you going to do? And the guy says, well, I'm going to go, make sure that Gimbals does a great job. It's it, you know it's that type of world that we're living in right now. I mean, you try to pin these guys on anything, it doesn't work. I think we
Yes.
talked a little about on Sunday. Denise and I talked about Tom Swazi, who happens to be a congressman here in the state of New York representing Long Island, and how he went on TV and he started ranting against the Democratic Socialist movement, and it's like, dude, do you see what's going on? Like, do you see what's going on?
Read the
Like,
room.
you're on TV now, and you're fighting the left, And you're not even talking about the things that are going on in this administration, right? The left ain't doing anything. Even if the left wins, okay? Even if El Sayed wins, even if some of these lefties win, okay? At most, it's going to be a handful, okay? Maybe 20 of them in the House. Maybe you get more than Bernie Sanders in the Senate, okay? It's not like the country is going to immediately like swing left, okay? Or that we're going to be raising the minimum wage tomorrow. As AOC said, right? You're attributing things that are never going to happen, right? As long as these assholes are in office, okay? They've made it perfectly clear. Schumer and Jeffries have made it perfectly clear, right? The DSA agenda is not their agenda, okay?
Yeah, their
Right?
agenda is pretty much what's going on the right. That's really what's
Right.
happening here. We have to acknowledge that.
But why do we need to elect these people? To keep the conversation moving, okay? Because the further we swing to the right, the more freedoms we lose, the more social programs we lose, the more of our education we lose. We lose our generation of children, right? And we lose a generation of seniors,
Yeah,
okay?
that's actually the big thing is the next generation. You know, whatever choices we make impacts those children, and we should all be thinking about that. You know, years ago, a lot of us who are on this stream right now are older. Most of us are either late Gen Xers or boomers. We remember growing up. We had educational options. We had college options. Our parents worked to put us through school so we could have a better life than they did. That was like the goal. Now the goal is just is for the next generation to be able to get by. That's not a goal, right? That's not something to strive for.
What did we hear, right? Like, so again, I grew up and the American dream was you buy a house, you have a
Mhm.
family, you have a good job, right? You can retire, you have a nice, you can set some money aside and retire, right? You can put your kid through school. Okay. Again, I understand generations are different. That is no longer the society we live in.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know.
That is no longer the dream for our children. And in fact, these people, the establishment Republicans and the establishment Democrats, want to change our society, right? From an ownership society to a rental
Rental.
society, to a subscription society, okay? Where you have to rent everything, right? Subscribe to everything and pay a fee for everything. And here's the thing, that to me is a radical idea. Okay?
Yes, yes,
That
it's
to me is
extremely
radical.
radical.
Okay? What AOC, what Mamdani, what El Sayed, what these people are saying, okay, to me is not radical. That's what I grew up with. Okay. I grew up with Social Security. I grew up with strong social programs. I grew up with a strong social safety net to ensure that nobody in our society gets left behind. I was brought up with the idea, right, that the measure of a society is how you treat, okay, the most vulnerable of your population. Okay. What does it say about us right now? Okay. Are we taking care of the most vulnerable people in our society? Okay. Because all I'm hearing from establishment Democrats and from Republicans is go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Every man for himself. Okay. And that is wrong to me. Okay. It's not socialism, it isn't communism. Okay. It's the society I grew up in, it's America. And it was the America I grew up in.
Yes.
So my question is why all of a sudden are we saying that the American dream that I grew up with is so radical? Okay? And why is it that our politicians who are in office right now who sit there and talk about the 250th anniversary and rah rah America are telling me that the American dream that I grew up with is not the American dream anymore?
What the hell?
right? That the
Crazy.
American dream should be for me, right, to be happy and to be subservient, okay, to the billionaire class and to hand my money over to the billionaire class.
Yeah,
Okay. So
that ain't
I want to
happening.
bring up I want to bring up a quick story that I think is relevant to this topic, right? As we're watching the El Sayed thing roll through. Anthropic, the CEO of Anthropic, Sam, whatever his name is, Sam Altman,
Altman,
came
yeah.
out, right, and made a statement that he believed that his employees, right, weren't there for the mission of the company, but were there just for a paycheck. Okay. And that concerned him. Okay. 30 years of beating down people, no longer giving them a pension plan, right? Telling them that you're not loyal to them, that you're going to fire them at any moment, right? If their job either becomes obsolete, right? Or they can replace you with a fucking robot, okay? And you're going to say that they should be beholden to your mission and not there for a paycheck, right? Meanwhile, the only way you can get a raise at your job is if you leave your job. Because if you go and ask for a raise, they're just going to say no.
So you have to
Because
shop.
nobody pays you what you were worth. And the only way you can get more money is to shop around and take the skills that you learned at one job to another job. Okay. And then with the disloyalty that these companies have for their employees, they turn around and demand loyalty? Seriously? This is how delusional the billionaire class is. This is how far removed they are from being the working class.
And you know why? You know what the biggest difference, the biggest factor in how that's come about, aside from the whole trickle down bullshit? It's the attack on unions. Unions were the ones that drove wages up, banding together and going, "Hey, look, you want quality work that you can charge better, make more money and have more profit, then you need to pay us a decent wage. You need to provide us with health care. You need we'll train, we'll find the best people for the unions to help you along, for our unions, for our membership. But, you needed an advocate. They would put an advocate in there and fight for better wages and better, just better overall compensation. And now we see, well, Trump has already gotten rid of the Labor Department. And now we see a lot of states voting against collective bargaining. Like, that's one of the things I'm really pissed about with Abigail Spanberger. There was a collective bargaining agreement that was put forth, or it was a legislation regarding collective bargaining within the state of Virginia, where she recently became governor, and she vetoed it. And everybody's like, "What the fuck? We thought you were progressive. Why did she veto that? Did you hear about this? Do you have any information on
I
that?"
heard that she vetoed it. I mean, and it was a big. But this, listen, Democrats have been pulling this from the dawn of time, right? Because we saw Cuomo do this when he attacked Peth after his second election, right? Because Peth decided that they were going to endorse Zephyr Teach Out. So as
Oh, I remember that.
retaliation, right? As retaliation, when he won, he went after Peth. I mean, Democrats have been pulling this shtick for a long time, and this is why they've really lost unions. A lot of unions have abandoned the Democratic Party because they no longer feel that Democrats will support them. Because right, we've gotten into this again, going back to capital is more important than labor.
Yeah, profits over people. Yeah.
Profits over people. It's what it
And
comes
so
down to.
I think with any luck, that's the reason why we need to, as these elections come up, and not just at the federal level, but right in your own communities, at the state and local level, you need to be really investing the time and energy to talk to your candidates and what what their policies are. I mean, the only ones who are really talking about issues that affect everyday people is the DSA. It's like not even the establishment Democrats aren't, and definitely not forget the Republicans. They're just gone. At this point, they're not talking about anything that helps everyday people. They want you to, bow to them. But the DSA are the only ones that are talking about everyday issues. And you know what? I think El Sayed was endorsed by unions for this election that's coming up because he's talking about things that unions fight for. Better wages, like we said before, wages, healthcare, education, all these things. So
But
yes,
what do you see? What do you see? Gillibrand just came to our area and she talked about it. And what were her three things? It was tariffs, the war, and energy prices. It was like it was nothing that
she's a
was
complete
nothing that actually would help people. Okay,
right.
like you can't just be talking and saying there's an affordability crisis. What are you going to do about it?
What are the
Right? Like
solutions to that
what
crisis?
what are you putting forth as a solution to the affordability crisis? Right? Don't just tell me that there's an affordability crisis.
We
People have heard
know.
that already. We all know. We all go to the store. We all shop. We all know that there's an affordability crisis. We also all know that there's a fucking housing crisis. Right? So, but what I don't hear from any Democrat are solutions. I don't actually hear any solutions. All I hear is them acknowledging the problem. Finally, I mean, okay, do I have to wait
Great.
another 50 years for them to actually formulate a solution? Right? There are people who are willing to come to the table with a solution. Right? You know what? You may not like those people. Those people may not be your cup of tea for some reason. You may not even like their policies. But at the end of the day, they at least have them talking about policies. And you know what? Maybe if even if you don't like them, again, I go to maybe if they get in and they're talking about what they're talking about, and finally the Democrats or Republicans or whoever comes to the table and says, "This is what I want," maybe we can actually get a solution
Get some
that would
change.
be good for all of us, as opposed to the crap that we get now, where these guys get sent to Congress, they argue for fucking a year, right, and pass three bills, right, all of which are continuing fucking resolutions,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And it's taking money out of our pockets. Nothing's
Right.
better. Nothing is better. Everything is worse. Every promise that he made, he didn't fulfill. No promises kept. Everything's more expensive. Energy's more expensive. He promised no wars. We're in what's about to pretty soon possibly become a world war. Now that seems to be a stickler for Republicans is the war.
Hold on,
But
hold on. We got victory though. We got victory. There's a victory. This could end tomorrow. I might actually have some good news in reporting this because this could end tomorrow, right?
oh
Apparently,
God.
there might be a deal on the table to get the
Monty
United
Hall.
States out of this mess, and it's not being announced by this administration. This
Wait,
administration
what?
is declaring victory. It's being announced by Iran. Okay, there might be a deal on the table where Iran gets to control the Strait of Hormuz, at least the inbound traffic, right? But you got to remember, right? There's only one way in and one way out. So you
Yeah.
control the inbound traffic, you control
You're
the outbound
controlling the
traffic,
outbound
right?
traffic.
Right? But it gives the appearance, okay, because Oman will control the outbound traffic, right? So this now gives the administration an out of the whole Strait of Hormuz debacle, okay, and opens up the Strait of Hormuz, because of the fact that at least the United States can then say, we got victory because Iran doesn't control the Strait of Hormuz anymore, right?
But they will
Because
control the strait.
but they will control, right? But it gives them a way out, which is like, to be honest with you, whether whether I like him taking a victory lap or not taking a victory lap, you know what? In this instance, I'll give it to you, guy. I'll give it to you because I want the war to end. I
Yes.
really
Get
don't
us out
want
of
to
this.
see boots on the ground. I don't want to see any more violence. I don't want to see any more dead. I certainly don't want to see any more of our soldiers put in harm's way. If this ends the conflict, I am all 100% for it. And I'm absolutely 100% in giving Trump credit, only because of the fact that it's the only way, if you give him credit, that he'll accept it. All right. So that's where we are. Okay. This is where we are in the world. You gotta sometimes you just gotta stroke somebody's ego to get what you want. This gets me what I want. It should get most Americans what they want, because they really don't want to be on this in this war. So the hope is, as long as, you know, one of our allies doesn't go nuts and start bombing the shit out of everybody in the Middle East again, right? We
Well,
should we should be we should be good. I mean, because at the end of the day, we're out of munitions. Our soldiers are quitting. Our generals are quitting. Right? Like, we're out of ideas. Like, if this gets us out, then we got to take it. We got to take it.
yeah, but BB's not gonna let that happen.
You know what? I'm really just want to be hopeful that this is the end of the war.
We'll
I
be
mean, there is going to be so much pain. All right. Again,
we're already
we are not.
experiencing it.
Yeah, it's going to get worse. There's a lot more that's going to happen that's going to absolutely be worse. All right. Not only with energy prices surging, right? I mean, everybody is seeing energy prices surging. We're now, diesel is up. Okay, diesel is an inflationary marker, right? Which will impact all of our goods and services, goods that we receive, including
Food.
or food. Right. So you're talking about higher prices, higher gas prices coming forth, higher energy costs to heat our homes or to put air conditioning on. It's going to get bad, and then not for nothing. Apparently, it was revealed that that there's going to be a whole currency shift in the United States. So that's
Yeah,
something to keep on the radar too.
yeah. Before we wind up, you sent me something about. It was a meme earlier. It was a video earlier today about using crypto to get rid of the debt. What is this scam? This latest scam that you were sending?
So the president, if people remember when he first got into office, okay, he had this he signed an executive order about cryptocurrency. Okay, he tied the cryptocurrency to the dollar. Okay, so basically you can convert the cryptocurrency to the dollar back and forth. Okay, um, the theory that is being floated around and is looking more and more credible by the day, especially since we have a lot of politicians pushing crypto bills, including ours in New York, our wonderful Kirsten Gillibrand, the senator, cryptocurrency in New York, all right, creating a framework for how crypto could be utilized within the United States. Okay, I believe once that framework is done, they're going to shift over to crypto, right? And then devalue the dollar, right? Which will then essentially eliminate all the debt the United States has. It basically leaves all the debt behind to us, right? Like Social Security, like everything, all our pensions, everything just goes away. It becomes like it becomes nothing, right? And it shifts the entire country over to crypto. And of course, because the billionaires now own all the crypto and they're going to be in control of it, we're going to have nothing. We're going to end up all like in the poorhouse, right? We won't be able to afford anything. Everything will be done.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
the
you hearing
theory
this,
that's going around. That's
folks?
the theory that's going around now. Yeah.
Jesus
no one.
fucking Christ. So
And again, I would
go
like to
ahead.
point out hold on. I just want to point out, for anybody thinking that this theory is absolutely batshit crazy and will never happen, right?
No, he actually talked
But
about
that
this.
just remember all the other theories that I've thrown out there have actually come true.
Yes.
Okay. Right? I haven't really been wrong on anything yet.
Shit. Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. So
Yeah,
how do we defend against this? Or should we all buy crypto? I don't fucking trust crypto for as far as I
may
can
the
throw
odds
it.
be ever in your favor.
Yeah, that's heartwarming. Oh God. Oh boy, folks, does anybody have any questions or anything you want to ask us about
Yeah,
all
on
that
that
we?
happy note. Yeah, does
On
anybody
that
have
happy
any
note.
questions?
Oh, I do have an interesting note, and you might want to share this with your friends. We have a special guest joining us live next week. At least that's what we're hearing now. And you might want to line up some questions. We're going to have town supervisor Frank Dendato join us next week live. So I'm going to put a post out on our socials. Most notably, our most common one is Facebook. We have a Facebook page for the TOWTalk podcast. I'll put a post out there, and you can list some questions that you might want to ask Frank, and we'll have him answer them live. And obviously, if you join us next week, you can engage with Frank also and speak to your supervisor. And in addition to that, you can also speak to him this Thursday, because this Thursday is another Spill the Tea event. I believe 6 p.m. at the town hall. And you can be there and you can sit in. He tells you what the status of the town is, what he's doing, what he's working on, and then takes questions. So you can speak with him live. But if you can't do it live, you can't go there and see him in person, you can see him here with us on Tuesday. I don't even know I think that's the 11th.
And here's what I'm going to say. There's a lot of shit going around. I'm going to call it shit. It's going around, right? It's all lies. And my suggestion is if you have a question about that shit, show up. Hear it from him yourself, right?
Yes.
This is an opportunity for you to actually engage with your town supervisor, right, in a public forum and ask him whatever you want. Ask him the questions, right? Instead of going on Facebook and sharing a meme that's not true and all this other bullshit, right? Why not just ask him? I mean, the other side, says has honestly been the most vile campaign I've seen in a long time. And to be honest with you, I a pretty vile campaign was ran against me. Okay, and it's only gotten worse with these people. Okay, and this is pretty vile. I will absolutely admit that the Republicans in this town have absolutely lost their mind. Okay, because they can't run on the issues, because there isn't any
I was going to
issue
say that they have no
can run
policy.
on. And right, and this is why I keep saying, right, let's debate, let's have it. Show up and debate. Answer tough questions. Answer the questions that I'm asking you. What are you going to do differently than is currently being done? What you claim that the supervisor works 7-hour days, okay?
No.
Yet he's not full time, right? He works 7-hour days, 7 days a week, but he's not full time.
No, they say he works 5 hours a week. That's what they think. That's what they want you to believe. Let me ask you this then. Let me ask you. I got a good question here. How is it then, if he only works an hour a day, 5 days a week, how is it that he's managed to get 3 audits done in a period of just a matter of months, when the last guy, who was allegedly full time, didn't get him done for 3-4 years?
He
also lost the bond. Yeah,
the audits. He got the bank recs done. He got
whatever it is, whatever.
This 3 years, and he couldn't even get bank recs done, right?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, right? The previous guy who claimed to be full time lost the bond rating. He couldn't do anything. right?
Got robbed right
You know,
under his fucking nose.
right? A cop who got robbed. A cop who got robbed, right? Like, hey, that's what we're talking about. Cop who got robbed. And you know, I'm not really sure what is being what is what are they actually saying when they say full time? Are we talking about micromanaging town employees and doing their job, right? Because if you're talking about micromanaging employees, I want to know what your qualifications are, right? The employees are good employees. They just have to be able to do their jobs correctly. Okay. And the previous administration had this ability where they would constantly go in and tell them not to do their job correctly. Okay. And that was part of the problem. Okay. And that's why stuff ended up getting missed, not done correctly. All this other bullshit is because they were being told not to do things correctly. We now have a current supervisor who's fixing that. Okay. So what I'm not really sure like what it is. Do you not want that fixed? Do you not want an efficient town? Do
They
you
want
not want your
control.
tax dollars to be run efficiently? You know, I mean, this is an individual who wanted to take your tax dollars, right, to put a freezer in her house.
Say what?
Yeah, she wanted to put a freezer in her house.
You're talking about Jill?
Yeah. Yeah.
For
she
what?
Was in front of the board because she runs a food pantry and she wanted a freezer for the food pantry. But she wanted the town, because the pantry is out of her house, she wanted the town to pay her $7,000 to put a freezer in her house.
I didn't know that.
I'm listen. I have nothing wrong with you with somebody who runs a food pantry. I have no problem with somebody who does public good, but you can't take my tax dollars and put a freezer in your house and increase the value of your home. You know, I would have been more than happy if I were supervisor to have, you know, found a public location to have a food pantry and have a place where people can come and make sure it was staffed and all that kind of stuff and make sure it was run properly. Right. But, you know, so I don't know, like, is this just a gripe because she wants a freezer in her house, or
She's
like
running to get a freezer?
Like, I'm trying to figure out what she's running for. Like, what does she want to do? Like, this whole full-time supervisor thing makes no sense to me, right? Because the supervisor's job, it's not a 9 to 5 job.
People, yeah,
right?
that's what that's
like,
what she's
like
they're trying to.
Job is not 9 to 5 either. Like, it's just these jobs are fluid, right? They're fluid because
shit just happens at any hour. You know,
any hour. At any hour, all of a sudden a water main breaks in the middle of the night. You're up. You have to answer the phone because you have to get people up, and you know, yada yada yada. You know, emergency happens in your town. You know, maybe there's a shooting or something like that. Next thing you know, you're getting a call.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right?
I mean, you know,
I just want to know what we're talking about. Like, what are your goals? What do you want to do with the town? What direction do you want to take it in? I mean, I think our current supervisor has articulated a full on, you know, a full on
plan,
right? About he's talked about development. He's talked about properties. He's talked about the master plan. He's talked, right? Like, I haven't heard anything like about development. I mean, we had, right? So there's a lawsuit out there right now, right? By Pyramid. Pyramid is suing the town again, right? Like, it's not Pyramid, but I think it's like the company that they sold the property on Smith Road to, because this town, the previous town board, right? George Serrano, he granted the PDR, right, against my wishes, right? Like, I was the only one who voted no for the PDR to allow Pyramid
just let me stop you there. What is a PDR? We got to do. Not everybody. I don't even know what that means.
Residential development. It's a planned residential development.
Thank
right?
you.
So, and usually what it is it's an overlay in a zone that doesn't allow for that type of development. So it's a residential development in town center, which didn't allow for residential housing. Okay.
Okay.
But he granted the overlay, all right, and then revoked it before leaving office. Okay. Now the town is being sued over that, right? Because you granted something and then you took it away and you didn't file due process with the company, right? To do that.
Basically
Okay?
setting up the next guy. Good job,
Right.
Serrano.
Right. So now this lawsuit's out there that was right that these idiots did because they granted something they shouldn't have granted in the first place. Then they had regrets, so then they revoked it. Okay, you know, and now the town is being sued.
Nice. And
Right.
now we have to respond to that. And of course that, it's bad enough. Isn't this is this the same people we lost the tax revenue from? They had their value reduced, so now we get less taxes.
Yes.
And now they're suing us for more money. So we're getting less tax revenue. That happened under Serrano. And now because Serrano decided to change his mind and take something away, we're now being sued. And that's going to cost us money. Good job, Serrano. And Serrano thought he was worth $122,000 because he's the one who raised the salary that high.
Yes, that is also true. Against my wishes, because I didn't want to do that either. I thought the supervisor made enough money, but he raised his salary $20,000 in the 4 years he was in office.
22,000. Okay. I saw it. Yeah, that's okay.
But that's okay. That's okay, right? We're going to talk about what the current supervisor makes, not the fact that George gave himself all those raises and got it to this point, right? And this is what the previous board set as the salary. Let me say that again. The previous board, George Serrano, okay, Eric Valentin, right, Eric Johnson, and Mark Coyne set this salary.
Okay? They sure did.
All right. So, and they all voted yes to that.
Yeah. Nice.
So just to give one final update before we round up, 21.6% of the expected results are in. Abdul El Sayed has 51.8%, and Haley Stevens has 44.9%.
She hasn't really budged. He's come down a little bit, but is there anybody else on that ballot?
Yes, there is. Mallory McMorrow is also.
I thought she stepped down. I thought she had stepped down.
I think she did, but she's still on the ballot.
Oh, so people are just voting for her anyway. Okay, yeah, she didn't take herself off the ballot.
It's the same thing as if somebody does a write-in vote.
Yeah, gotcha.
I mean, those are people who just wanted to vote, who went to vote and didn't want to vote for the other two.
Yeah.
So they weren't going to vote anyway for either one.
So this gives them
votes away.
Yeah. So, all right. Anybody else have any comments or questions that you have for us before we wind up here? Because man, this has been a good stream, man. This has been one of our marathon ones. We've been here for a while. We had lots to talk about.
I gotta go walk my dog.
He's got to go walk the dog. Neil's got to walk his dog. And I don't see any questions.
And we're losing people, so it's time to round up.
I think it's time to round up. Hey guys, listen, join us next week. Frank Dendonta will be here. Have your questions ready. Follow us on our socials. Definitely, if you have any specific questions, post them on our Facebook page, or you can even post them down here if you want after the stream ends. And I'll be sure to take a look at it. And we will bring those questions to Frank, so we have some questions to ask him right away. And then join us live. And if you have anything else, share it. All right. And we will see you next week. And guys, thanks so much. If you stuck around to the end, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you aren't already. Click the bell so you get notified when new videos drop. It's really important to make sure you click all, because apparently people aren't getting notified unless all is checked. Yeah, all kinds of freaking crazy shit with the algorithms. And be sure you follow us on the Daily Gripe. We got a new post up, a new video up there that I put up yesterday. So check that out. And in the meantime, until next time, we will see you soon. We love you guys. Take care.
Peace out.